Hey everybody, welcome to Mac Monday. I am here today with Jordan Patrick, and we are in Tulsa, Oklahoma at Triton Fight Center. And we're continuing my series on here about what I wish I knew as a white belt, and Jordan's gonna show us like 3 really important things today, so you go right into it.
So you guys, whenever we're a white belt, we're all taught how to escape a basic mount escape. We're taught to bridge up as high as we can and turn the person over. But there's a lot of key details that I believe get missed. So let's cover what's kind of traditionally taught and then the correct way.
When we're traditionally mounted and this person's mounted on top of us, we're taught to bring our feet on the inside and bridge as high as we can and then turn our bodies over
For the mount escape. Okay, there's some things that get missed with that. Number 1
is when I bring my feet up to my butt here and I bridge and I begin to turn, I'm blocked by my own leg because my legs are side by side. So initially when you bridge, it's not about the height of your bridge, it's about torque, or what we call rotation, okay? The ability to spin fast with force and come into a bridge.
So what does that mean?
Instead of feet side by side in the bridge, we're gonna do an asymmetrical bridge where we bridge with one knee out and one knee in. And instead of bridging above my head, I'm gonna go ahead and cut the angle. And what this does is, as the initial drive leg, the leg farthest from the camera, loses its drive, it transfers the power to my other leg because I'm on the ball of my toe of the other leg. The key is keeping your knee off the ground. The last piece of making your torque, the amount of speed of your bridge faster, is your head. Whenever you turn your ear and look over your shoulder, you have the final piece to finish your bridge and come on top.
So what does this look like in the mounted position?
So she's mounted on top of me. I build my frames. Let's just say she has a traditional hand in the collar, like an X choke on me. So what we're gonna do is we trap an arm. We've all been taught that, different grips and such. So once we trap an arm and we've stepped over the leg, instead of bridging Mac up as high as I can like this, I want to go ahead and bridge her with torque, okay, instead of height. So whenever I step over her leg, I'm gonna have asymmetrical feet. And when I bridge, I want Mac to do something special. What most, anybody that's been training longer than 3 months or 6 months, she's gonna post her hand way over here, and I'm gonna show you how that final turn of my head can finish even on a far post here. So whenever I bridge, I have this knee is gonna point out, this knee points in, and as she posts, that final turn over my head as I transfer the power and reverse the position. We've trapped an arm, she knows what's coming next. Once I've stepped over, instead of trying to bridge Mac up, okay, I'm going to bridge with asymmetrical feet, and I'm gonna transfer the weight from this leg to this leg with my toes, using my head as the final piece of the torquing power. So as I go, she has no time, even when she posts, to finish. The biggest mistake that I'll see white belts and people of all ranks make is they collapse that knee, so whenever they finish their bridge, they go to transfer, they lose this ends up on the ground, and then they turn over very sloppily. But by bending your toes and using that as the final piece of torque, along with your head, you'll be able to finish your mount with much more effectiveness. Okay, the next one is a traditional side control escape. And honestly, guys, I used to hate teaching this technique because I always felt like it never really worked, but we all need to know it, and I felt like it's like 101. But that's because there's really some key things we're missing. So whenever someone has a side control on you, you have to start with your frame in the hip. And if she has a heavy crossface here, one way of doing that is I can turn my head away from the crossface, even if she brings it down heavy, so I can get room for that hand to come inside, okay? Next is where my hand placement is. If it's too shallow, she'll be able to pick my arm up and do a reverse Kessa, or a Kessa sit type of thing, pulling my elbow up if it's too shallow. Or, yeah, if it's too deep, okay? She'll be able to pin that arm and do things where she can flatten my arm out like such. Okay, so you wanna make sure it contours the hip, and I'm making this angle where my wrist is higher than my elbow, okay? Now, one thing to understand about bridging, we're gonna do a traditional forearm frame. I won't go into the details of how to get that, but you do need to know that it needs to be at this downward facing angle with your forearm, okay? The second is the bridge and the shrimp. A lot of us, just like the mount escape, we're all trying to just bridge the person up. We're all trying to just bridge away, okay? And anybody that's been training long enough easily can counter this. They know what's happening. I need to displace her body weight. It's not about bringing her up because she'll just come back down. So just like the bridge we covered earlier, I'm gonna use that before I shrimp. So this is kind of two parts. I do an initial asymmetrical bridge to displace her body weight. And then I do a shrimp. And then as she stays on me, I point the angle of my foot. My foot is higher than my knee. And even if she tries to stay close to me, because the penetration point is at her hip, at this angle, for every inch that I shrimp away, I should be able to get my knee inside. Even when she stays close, now my elbow and my knee are connected, and there should be no reason I can't regard from here. So if she sits up for a second, what I'm talking about, guys, is face the camera. The penetration point of side control is the hip. All right. A lot of us are bridging. We're trying to come in at the thigh. We're trying to come in at the knee, but it's actually the hip, and the hip is at this angle. So when I have my elbow frame, stay there. When I have my elbow frame here, and my toe or my foot above my knee like this, it contours perfectly with the hip. Okay? And for every inch that I can shrimp away, I should be able to slide my knee in like a perfect little Tetris piece. The way I've explained it is, it's like this shrimp escape, we've all been trying to shove a square piece inside of a circle when it can be much smoother and efficient than that. What I'm talking about is, we all try to muscle this up, okay? We all try to muscle this up and shrimp and come in at the, and anybody that stays close, I'm gonna be blocked by her leg every time. But by shrimping with my foot higher than my knee, even when Max tries to stay close to me and keep her hip in, for every inch, I should be able to slide my knee in, just like a perfect puzzle piece. And when my elbow and knee connect, there's really not much keeping me from touching my feet together, using my frame now to regard. And that is something I really, really wish, although it is a basic side control escape and we know that there's dozens, that's something I really wish that I knew as a white belt.
I wish I knew it too.
The last technique that I really wish I would have known as a white belt, we're gonna do a no-gi rear naked strangle. So as you guys are probably traditionally taught, once we've got to this position, we were all taught to cross our arms in some point and basically just squeeze the carotids of their neck and even hip into the person or whatever you were taught. I was taught something similar, or I wasn't really taught the details of the finish. Just like with joint locks, you have to have one force going one way, north, and one opposing grip going south, and that's what kind of rips a paper. That's what would break a joint or a bone. The same thing with our strangles. Instead of just squeezing both her neck together, which you'll probably get the finish a lot of the times, you'll make your strangles much more effective whenever, and I'm gonna show you with one hand how powerful this is. So I'm not gonna go over details of how to hold the position, but once we've reached this position by inching our arms up, we need to have our hand behind our training partner's trap right here, blocking with our chin on top of our hand. Now I'm gonna show you this first one with one hand, so I'll just hold her defensive hand here. Instead of squeezing Mac's neck, what I'm gonna do is, keeping my head in close, I'm gonna turn my head into hers with my chin on top of my hand, and instead of squeezing, I'm gonna use rotational force, just like ripping a paper. And you see how fast that was. So what I'm doing is holding these grips in. This would be her escape this way, so I block that with my head. And all I'm doing instead of squeezing is I'm rotating my elbow, my right elbow here, over her shoulder. It comes on very quick, and you can finish a lot of strangles against stronger people, even one-handed. Finishing this with two hands, I was taught a very basic way of, which is a disaster, of being something along the lines of this, which we know an arm break is here, grabbing your own bicep, karate chopping behind the head, and finishing. When that's very elementary. What we should be doing is, once we get this position here, we cross our wrists and then slide the arm up the bicep. Now I can use my other hand in the back of her head. Same rules apply, it's just gonna be much tighter here. That rotational force
instead of just squeezing the neck. I can squeeze the neck and finish, yes, but much more efficient and saving me some energy, especially between matches if I'm competing, to use rotational power to finish that.
All right, well, thanks for being here, Jordan. I really appreciate it. What's your Instagram? Like, plug whatever you want to plug.
Yeah, follow me on Instagram, Jordan Patrick Fitness. I'm a personal trainer, so anything fitness, jiu-jitsu, nutrition-related content, shoot me a follow or a like.
All right, well, thank you guys again for watching. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel for new videos on Mondays and Wednesdays, and I'll see you next time.